Man, you must be tired of going through video after video after video, asking question after question after question. And then you find those videos where they kind of talk at you as if you're already a musical genius. I'm not a musical genius. As a teacher, I'm always looking for information. But even as a fairly advanced musician, I look up information. I'm trying to listen to someone talk and give me the information I'm seeking. And I'm like, I start losing track of what this person's talking about. Music should be easy. When you go to the beach, when you play by the campfire, when you're on stage, you're not thinking about what's the flat of the sharp of the third of the key of the D flat major of the arpeggio of the C in the third. Like, you're not thinking about these things. You're just playing. You're feeling the music, and you should really start to know how to navigate your fretboard and jam without convoluting your thought process on how it all works. I got a wonderful response in the last video I posted. And in that video, I started with some basic information, some ground level information, some fundamentals. And from there, I turned it into advanced knowledge. And people were like, oh, that's actually really helpful. So in today's video, I'm gonna do the same exact thing. We're gonna start with some simple basic information and stack upon it until it becomes a little bit more of an advanced understanding. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how music works in general, and then you'll be able to apply it to your guitar. If you're new to the channel, my name is Brian Leachy, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope this information that you're gonna receive today is helpful for you. If you enjoy it, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, and keep on following. It really helps me out and it lets me know that you guys are out there. Now let's get to it. Alrighty guys, now, in this video here, I go over some of the ground level understandings that you're gonna need to get kind of going on your musical journey. And in this video, I'm gonna go much deeper into that, but don't worry, I'm not gonna over convolute it for you. Check this out. In music, there are 12 music notes. That's 12 musical pitches repeating from low to high. In the previous video, I mentioned 7 of those notes. Those 7 notes are called natural notes. And natural notes are the notes that are named by the exact letter of the alphabet. So let me throw up some natural notes on the board for you. The flash on the camera is blinding me. I'm having a hard time writing. I'm losing my eyesight for you guys. Hopefully not my hearing though. All right, 12 music notes, 7 of which are natural, meaning that they're named after a letter of the alphabet. Can you name your letters of the alphabet? Good job! That's right, we start with A. Next is B. I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna do that to you. I'm just trying to prove to you that music is easy. And there they are, my friends, the 7 natural notes. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. These 7 natural notes are the notes upon which everything else is built. Now you might be saying, hey Brian, you spaced those funny. That flash must be really blinding you. Did it on purpose. You know what? Let's take a quick look at the guitar before we move on. There's like a lot of things set up here, so I'm just gonna hold it like this instead of putting the camera right here. I'll do that later. But the way your guitar is tuned, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your 5th string, open, usually in its natural state is an A, all right? If you're doing standard basic tuning, that sound is an A. Now, if I go to the 2nd fret, that's the note B. The 3rd fret is the note C. The 5th fret is the note D. The 7th fret is the note E. The 8th fret is the note F. The 10th fret is the note G. And uh-oh, it looks as though we've gotten to the end of our alphabet. What do we do? Well, if I move up again, I just start back over and go back to A. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back to A. This is an A, and this is an A. They're the same note with the same name, but they are what's called an octave apart. So you'll have your lower A and your higher A. We'll get to that another time. That's not the point of this lesson. Pay attention. Now you might notice that when I went from A to B, I skipped a fret. That's because there is, by the nature of sound and frequency and vibration, there is a tone, there is a note between the sound of A and the sound of B. Na, 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 right? Na, na. There's this distance between those 2 notes, but there's something in between those notes. Na, 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 right? So there's something right there. Na, na, na. So between the notes A and B, there's a distance that we have to cover to get from note A to note B. And that distance leads us to a note in between the two, and that's called A sharp. It's kind of like saying A and a half, B. A and a half, B. Or A sharp, B. A note that is sharp is simply one note, one half step, one semitone higher, one fret higher than the natural note beneath it. So we just discovered that between the notes A and B, there is a note, and that note is called A sharp. Now, a sharp note is indicated by using this little number sign, or this hashtag symbol, if you will. That little symbol means sharp. Moving on. Now, between the notes B and C, I wrote them closely together because between these two notes, there is no sharp. By the nature of science and frequency and sound, those two notes are directly near each other. So from B to C, there's nothing in between them. That distance is called a half step. What this tells us is that from the note A to the note B, I have to travel two notes. So from A to A sharp is a half step, and from A sharp to B is another half step. So from A to B is two half steps, otherwise known as a whole step, because two halves make a whole, right? See, music is easy, but the distance from B to C is only a half step, right? So it's going to be very important that we know what whole steps and half steps are as this lesson goes on. But again, at this moment, that's not the point of this lesson. You just little terminology I just want you to understand as I go along. Between the notes C and the note D, there is a note because those two notes are a certain distance apart. Na, 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 na. Na, na. They are a distance apart that allows another note, another tone to fit between them. And that note is called C sharp. Again, it's like saying C and a half. Now, you can probably deduce that because I have put certain spacing between these letters, that there is going to be a D sharp and an F sharp, right? So, I left enough space for these extra notes. So between D and E, there is a D sharp. It's like D and a half. Between E and F, there is no sharp or flat. So just like B and C, the distance between those two natural notes is called a half step. There is nothing in between those two notes. The same applies to E and F. They are a half step apart. There's no distance between those two notes. From F to G, there is a note. There is an F sharp. Now the tricky part is knowing that from G, you're not just gonna go back to A. There is a G sharp. Now, once you get to G sharp, you then start over at the note A again. Check it out, we did it. Let's count how many notes we just discovered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we go back to A again. So there are 12 music notes before you start over. Now, what a lot of people don't understand when they're first beginning is that is the way one string works, okay? Those are the notes across one string. So by the nature of standard tuning, the way our guitar is tuned, the notes that are strings each are tuned to, our fifth string, like I said before, is tuned to be an A. And as I go one fret at a time, or a half step at a time, I'm going across our musical alphabet, these 12 notes that we have. So we have A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, back to A. Now check this out. Our sixth string is not tuned where the lowest note it creates is an A. It's tuned that when it's open, that is the sound of an E. So we're not gonna start over here. We start from where E is, okay? And then we go across the alphabet the same way. So we're gonna start on E, So what's the next note? Oh, a half step up is F. F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, back to E. So when we got to A, we went back to the start of the alphabet. That doesn't necessarily mean I went lower again. I'm just repeating the alphabet. Like it would just go straight across. I just don't have enough board space. So those are the 12 music notes in ascending order, going up in pitch. So we started down low and went up higher. But what if we decide to go the opposite way and descend the 12 musical notes? That means I'd be starting up here and going the opposite way back down. Well, Brian, wouldn't it be the same? A, G sharp, G, F sharp, F, E, D sharp? No, it's different going backwards. Now pay attention. We are now going to start at the higher A, okay? And now we're gonna go backwards. So when you're at a note and you go up by a half step to something in between two natural notes, that's a sharp note. So that means you've gone up by a half step, but not quite to the next natural note. You're somewhere in between two natural notes. Like A and B are here, but then A sharp or A and a half is in between. But if I go from B to A, the name of that note in between is going to change. When you go down by a half step, it's called flat. So I'm not going down to a G sharp. What we're gonna say is that I'm going down to an A flat. So it's like A negative half. It's not like saying A and a half. It's like saying A minus a half or A negative a half. Don't even think of it that way. That's just a silly way of thinking about it. Maybe it helps you, I don't know. Great, so we've gone from a half step down and went to A flat. So we started up here where A is and went down by a half step. That's one fret, that's one note distance apart, right? And it's not a G sharp anymore, it's an A flat. Well, it's still a G sharp too. We're gonna get there. Now, as I descend and go down my notes, all the natural notes stay the same. So we still, G is a G, but between G and F, there is a note, right? There's an F sharp. But because we're descending, we're not gonna call it F sharp, we're gonna call it G flat. Oh, and pardon me, a flat symbol, it's notated to look like a lowercase b. However, it's more like almost like a half of a heart shape, like that. You'll see a line and half of a heart, but looks like a lowercase b if you want to put it that way. So this means sharp, and this means flat. All right, let's move on. So now as we go from G to F, F is a natural note, so it stays how it is. You go down, E is a natural note, so it stays how it is. Oh look, we've come to a sharp. We're not gonna call it D sharp, we're gonna say E flat. And we keep on going. Here's a D, it's natural. It stays how it is. Here's a C sharp. We're going from D back one, so now it's a D flat, not a C sharp. C and B are natural. There's nothing between them, so you go from C to B. Then between B and A, there is a note, but we're thinking in flats, not sharps. So we go from B down one half, and now it's called a B flat. All right, now check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 musical notes before you get back to A. So now, you are consciously aware that when you are picking up any instrument, a piano, a guitar, a violin, that there are 12 musical pitches, 12 musical notes. I have one more little nugget of knowledge and then I'm gonna move on to the next thing. You're probably wondering, well, how can the note between the two natural notes have two different names? If I go from A to B, it's an A sharp. If I go from B to A, it's a B flat. The word for that is called enharmonic. Say it with me, enharmonic. That means one note that has two names. So check this out. Let's find all the enharmonic notes in music. We have A sharp and B flat. They are the same note with two different names. C sharp and D flat are the same note, two different names. D sharp and E flat are the same note, just two different names. F sharp and G flat are the same note, two different names. They are enharmonic. G sharp and A flat are enharmonic. They are the same note with two different names. So if I go from A to B, the note in between is A sharp, then there's a B. So A sharp, B. But if I'm at B and I go down, it's now B flat. They only have a different name because in certain instances of reading music and communicating with other musicians and understanding certain arrangements, they have to have a different name. It's mostly like a music reading thing. When you're reading music, the lines and the spaces in between the lines are telling you, the musician, what note to play. The second line up, it's just where the note G is. So let's say there was a song that went like this. It was like, I just played F, G, G sharp, G, G sharp, G, G sharp, right? In music, that would look like this. This is where F is, this is where G is, and then it's, so it'd be like 1, 2, and 3, and so I'd be going 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So it'd be like, na 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 na. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and that just looks kind of messy because all of these little bulbs here, the note heads, are on the same line across. So it becomes hard for the eye to see that. It's much easier to look at it like this, where the notes go na 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 na, where you can see the down, up, down, up, down, up. And what would end up happening is, I didn't give myself enough space, but you would have the indicator that instead of saying G sharp, which is what I thought I was playing, we're gonna say A flat. This is the A space, and instead of putting a flat every time, the flat would be indicated over here. This is the A space. So it's like every time you see an A, you're gonna make it flat. So it's just easier to be like, okay, just every A is flat from now on. So I don't have to keep writing the flat, the flat, the flat. And now all the notes are not on the same line either. They're on different lines and spaces. They are separated visibly and visually. So that's why it's easier to say A flat in this case as opposed to G sharp, because the G and the G sharp would share the same line, but there would be all these like other symbols in there to tell you that it's a G sharp. See, I'm just even explaining it is making this video confusing. So you just put the flat in the beginning to tell the musician, okay, every A is flat. And so it's like F, G, A flat, G, A flat, G, A flat. And you can visibly see the na 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 na. Oh, I was way off. Na 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 na. That's just one reason why we need to have sharps and flats, why we need two names for the same note. It unconfuses things, even if that might have seemed confusing. I hope that wasn't too confusing for you. So now, let's move on. We now know that we have 7 natural notes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And in between those notes, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharp or flat notes. This gives us a total of 12 music notes in all. And now you're probably sitting there as the musician, as the piano player, the guitar player, the violin player, like, oh my God, I gotta remember 12 notes. And this is the beauty of what you're gonna learn today. You now know the names of the notes, which is great, but it's not often unless you're doing some super jazzy, progressive jazz thing where you use literally every single note in music. Like you're not gonna do all 12 notes at all times, especially as a beginner, intermediate kind of level person. That's not to say that you can't do it. I'm not limiting your creative flow. I'm simply saying at a fundamental and basic level, you need to learn to take the notes that sound good together and pull them out of this group of 12. Not every note in this group sounds good. Sounds like a mess. So what we need to do is, okay, we are aware that there are 12 music notes in music, but now we need to understand how to find the ones that actually match, that actually sound good, that we can actually use to create with. And this is where understanding the topic of keys is so important. So it would probably help you to understand what is a key. When I'm teaching little kids or if I'm teaching a beginner, I basically tell them, I'm not a Webster's dictionary. I basically tell them that a key is a family or a group of musical notes that are related or they match, or they sound good together. And we use these notes to mix and match and flip and flop and create with. So put simply, it's like a family of notes that sound good together, or a family of related notes, family related. I'm actually gonna move this a little lower because I have a little bit of a mind-blowing kind of thing for you, and I need some space. Let's keep the definitions simple. I'm not a dictionary. It's a family or a group of related notes. Notes that match, notes that sound good together. So this probably doesn't sound that great compared to this. That sounded a lot more musical. Now you can say, well, all right, Brian, you sound all musical and in key and stuff like that, but how do I do that? I do have another video on this, but this is really like what you need to understand. It's gotta be drilled into your mind. It's like 2 + 2. You're always going to use it the rest of your life. The rest of the time that you know math, you need to know 2 + 2. So as a musician, you need to know this stuff, and it's going to be repeated in your musical journey all the time. So once you know it, and the sooner you know it, and the quicker you memorize it, the easier the concept of music is going to sink in and resonate with you, and you'll be able to share it and use it to your advantage. So we now know what a key is. It's a group of notes that sound good together. Another word that you need to know is this. I'm sure you've heard that you had to practice your scale, right? Now a scale is like the list of notes, the names of the notes in the key, and they're usually listed in order. That way you can kind of keep track of where they are on your piano, on your guitar. You'll see the notes that are part of the same family in a specific order. So the scale is basically like your family tree. It's the names of the notes that are in the family. Now imagine for a second, someone comes to your house, or you go to someone else's house, and on the wall is a photo. And in this photo is a picture of your family. Here's all their heads. Some are standing low, some are standing up, tall. And for some reason, they're all wearing black shirts. It's emo night at your family's house. Now, when you look at that picture, right? You look at the picture and you say, this is my family. You show your friend the whole thing. This is my family. This is the Smith family. And the person looks and it's like, oh, there they all are. They're right there. So the key is like the family name. This is the Smith family. This is the Jones family. This is the Johnson family. In music, we would say this is the key of, then you say the name of whatever note that you want everything to revolve around. So you would say, today we're gonna play in the key of C, the family of C. So we need to find C on our guitar and then find all the notes that will sound good with C, that belong to the same family. In order to do that, we need to know how to build a key, and we need to know where to locate the notes in the scale. We need to know the notes that are in the scale. Because when you look at this family, yeah, there's the Smith family, but you have Billy Smith, Sally Smith, mom, dad, cat, dog, Jimmy Smith, Jessica Smith. Every individual person in the Smith family has their own name. Billy, Brian, Johnny, Sally, Stephanie, Jessica, Tommy, Dylan, cat, dog, whatever. And every person has their own traits that makes them special, something about them that identifies them, something that makes them unique for whatever reason it might be. So while everyone is different in their own way, they're all part of the same unit, the same family, the same group. They belong together. They are harmonious with each other. And that's really what I tell my students a scale is at first, that it's like the names of the notes that are in the key. Now I hope this makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, we're about to go deeper, okay? We're gonna go deeper into this. I'm not gonna end this video until I give you the proper information so you're like, until all your questions are answered. But I do have to erase this little family really quickly. Now, the question remains, how do I know which notes are in the same family? How do I know the notes that are in the same key? There are probably millions of teachers, millions of videos, and even I have 1 or 2 videos about this. You're gonna hear it all the time. This is how you build a key. This is how you find all the notes in the same family. Now, I'm gonna do something that more experienced musicians know is going to be incorrect, and then I'm gonna correct it so that you less experienced musicians understand why this next thing is done the way it's done, okay? So now we have our 12 music notes. We don't need all of them. They're not all in the same family. We need the few that are in the same family. So we're gonna start at the note A, for example. We're going to move over by a whole step and we get to B. From there, we're gonna move another whole step. That gives us D flat. We're gonna move a half step. So we just did whole, whole, half. Don't forget, a whole step is just the distance of 1, 2 half steps, right? 1, 2 half steps equals a whole step. So a whole, whole, half. We're gonna do 3 more wholes and a half again. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. This formula, this pattern, is going to pull out for me the notes that belong in the same key. They're part of the same family. So what do I get? I started at A, so A is the first member of the family. So it's fair to mention, and I should have probably mentioned this first, that we are in the key of A, the key of A. Because we started on A, we're doing this pattern to find all the notes that match, and the very first note in the family is A. So A is what we're gonna orient everything around right now. The second note located is B. Once we do a whole step, we pull out this B. B is the second note in the key of A, the family of A. So A is like the granddaddy or the grandma or whatever, and B is the mom or the grandma. We then moved another whole step and we got the note D flat. I know you advanced musicians are like right now. I know, okay? I know. I'm not, this isn't for you right now. We then moved a half step. That gave us D. D is the fourth note in the key of A. From D, we moved a whole step again. That gave us the note E. We moved another whole step. That gave us a G flat. We moved another whole step. We got A flat, and we move another half step and go back to A where we started. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes before we get back to A again, which is the first. You could also call it the octave, the 8, right? Eight, octave, because from A to A is the distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes. Octave. So now, if I play these notes, and I don't even know where every one of these notes is. I don't know where D flat and G flat and A flat right off the top of my head are. I do know that pattern though. I did A was the 5th string. I know that. I gotta go a whole step up. There's my B, another whole step up. That's my D flat. A half step. It's my D, another whole, E, another whole is G sharp. G flat. Another whole step up is A flat. And then a half step up, I got my A. So without me talking and blabbering, you get this. It's very musical. That's that kind of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? A lot of singers and a lot of musical people, or when you start learning music, you learn that na, 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 na. It's like a staircase of musical notes that match. They sound nice together. They sound good when you play them intertwined with each other and flip-flop them, or even in order like that. And now you can go na 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 na, and mix them up and make melodies and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So we have successfully pulled from the 12 notes the notes that are in the same family, the same key. That's right. So now we know that these are the notes that are going to sound good. They sound generally happy, right? So in music, when we say something is happy, we say that it's major. When something is sad, we say that it's minor. Hence, we have built the key of A major, the happy A. And the A major scale is A, B, D flat, D, E, G flat, A flat, A. That was really tough to say. So now I'm going to satisfy the itch of my advanced musicians, but you beginner musicians, this is why we do sharps and flats, because check this out. You're gonna notice that we have duplicate letters. I have 2 Ds here. I have 2 As here. That's a bit of a no-no in music. We need to have the full alphabet. That way we could use different lines and different spaces and communicate properly without having to say D, D flat, D, D flat, D flat, like A flat, A flat, flat. It's difficult to say the same note and see visually the same note, but one is written with a sharp and one's not, one's written with a flat and one's not. It's weird. But how do we change this? Okay, well, instead of thinking in flats, let's do whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, but let's use the sharps instead. Okay, so this is cool. We have A as the first, we go a whole step up and we get B, right? A whole step up again. You know what? D doesn't come after B. That's the random note. That's the one where we need to fix that. So instead of saying D flat, we're gonna go and use sharps and say C sharp. You see that? Now we have more of the letters of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, G. No, 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 G ain't right. Let's take this G flat and use its enharmonic note, F sharp. Now, yet again, we've added another letter of the alphabet. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, and A again. No, 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 that's wrong. We gotta change the wrong note. So we have A flat here, right? Let's use the enharmonic note, G sharp, right, dude? All of a sudden, wait, okay, that's why music is music. That makes sense. So now you have G sharp, not A flat. And this gives us now every letter of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back to A. I'm a musical genius, baby. And now you are too. So now the proper way to explain what the key of A major is we have the notes A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then we go back to A again. So when you do the pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, that will suck out all the correct notes, all the members of the family, depending on the letter you start on, the note that you start on. Let's do this with an easier key, the one that has no sharps or flats. Most beginners don't start with the key of A. A lot of beginners start with the key of C. Well, why? Why don't we just start with A? Why don't we go in order? Well, as you can see, for a beginner, sharp notes, flat notes, all these different things, they can be tough to receive, especially like little kids and stuff like that. They just need simple, straightforward ABCs, right? So let's wrap up this concept. When you do whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, that is how you build a major or a happy sounding key or scale. That's how you find all the notes in the same family, and it'll generally sound happy. Wait, you just created a happy family. One big happy musical family. Okay. So let's build the key of C major now. By the laws of music and science and things of the sort and frequencies and sound, we now know that there are 7 notes in a scale until you get more advanced and you start changing things and sharpening and flattening things. I know you advanced musicians, I know. I'm talking about the fundamentals here. Actually, I'm gonna give myself some more space here. Oh, did you need that? I'm sorry, were you writing things down? Just kidding, I know you can go back and screenshot and pause and all that stuff. Let me do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll do 8, we'll go back to 8. Let's erase this as well, and we're gonna start on C instead. Now again, it might be this video, it might not be this video, it might be the following video, there might be a part 2 of the same idea, but this is the basic stuff. I'm going to stack on this and give you advanced stuff, but you gotta know this in order to do the advanced stuff, okay? So bear with me. And if you learned something new by now, like and subscribe, please. Because by now you've probably stuck with me for however long this video is about to be. Okay, now just as a longtime musician, I know that the key of C major, the family of the note C, the happy family of the note C, has no sharp notes or flat notes in it. So there's nothing to confuse you, okay? So we're gonna start on C. Okay, we're right here on C, and we're gonna do the same pattern that we just learned. Whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Uh-oh, I ran out of room. So I'm at A, I need another whole step here, and then a half step. Let's see if I can squeeze this in here. B, flat, B, and then C, okay? So those are the notes. The alphabet just continues, okay? We know this. Whole, half, whole, half. What notes do I get from here? Well, I started at C, so C is the first. When a whole step up, D is the second. A whole step again, E is the third. Now a half step, we get F. A whole step from F, we get G. From G, a whole step again, we get A. Another whole step, we get B. And then we just have to go back to C again. We start over again. So by starting at C and doing whole, half, whole, half, another happy sounding group of notes, a happy family of notes, a major key, the key of C major. Now I did mention in a previous video, if I don't float it up around here, I'll put it at the end or I'll link it down below, that once you know the locations of these notes, you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? Whole, half, whole, half. Those are little points on your guitar that you're going to keep in mind, okay? Because from these little points, these little seeds, everything else grows from. Not gonna lie, my roommate just came home, so I'm gonna stop this video because it's kind of late right now, and I will resume the lesson tomorrow. Leave everything here, and we'll pick up where we left off, but I might be wearing some different clothes. So keep an eye out for part 2. Hopefully this information has been super helpful for you. I'm gonna, let the house sleep for a bit, and then we'll come back tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one. Keep an eye out. We're gonna finish this. Peace.